It was 2 a.m., the kind of dead-of-night silence that presses in on you like a heavy blanket, when I heard the whispers turning into shouts from the kitchen downstairs. My heart pounded as I crept to the door, the wooden floor creaking under my bare feet like a warning. "She's worth millions more than we thought," my son Samuel hissed, his voice sharp as a knife. "We can't wait for her to kick the bucket naturally. We switch her pills, make her think she's losing it, and boom, nursing home, then the cash is ours." I froze, my hand clutching the doorknob so tight my knuckles turned white. That was the moment I realized my own family, the boy I'd raised from a toddler, his wife, and my granddaughter, were plotting to strip me of everything, including my sanity. But what they didn't know was I had a secret stash that would turn their greedy scheme upside down. My name is Evelyn Harper, and I'm 72 years old, living in a cozy 2-story house on the outskirts of Chicago, Illinois, about 15 miles from the bustling city center. For 48 years, I thought I'd built a rock-solid family. It all started back in the late 70s when my late husband Jack and I adopted Samuel. He was just 3, abandoned at a shelter with big brown eyes that melted my heart. We couldn't have kids of our own, so we poured everything into him. Love, time, money. I worked double shifts at the old steel mill, coming home with grease under my nails and the smell of molten metal clinging to my clothes, just to pay for his Little League uniforms and later his college tuition at the University of Illinois. Jack passed away 12 years ago from a heart attack, leaving me with memories and that house, 2,000 square feet of warmth, with a backyard garden where I'd plant tomatoes every spring. Samuel moved back in after marrying Victoria, a sharp-tongued real estate agent he'd met at a barbecue. She's always been polished, with her manicured nails and designer purses, but I saw her as family. Then came my granddaughter Sophia, now 19, with her curly hair and dreams of attending Harvard. I'd babysit her after school, making grilled cheese sandwiches on the old cast-iron skillet, the cheese bubbling and crisping just right, filling the kitchen with that comforting aroma. Life was routine, the kind that feels safe in your golden years. Mornings, I'd brew a pot of strong black coffee, the steam rising like a familiar ghost, and read the Chicago Tribune at the breakfast table, circling coupons for the grocery store. Afternoons were for tending the garden, feeling the cool dirt between my fingers as I pulled weeds, or baking apple pies, the cinnamon scent wafting through the house like a hug. Evenings, we'd gather for dinner, pot roast slow-cooked for hours, the meat tender and juicy, with mashed potatoes whipped smooth. Samuel would talk about his job at the auto parts store, Victoria about her latest open house, and Sophia about her classes. I'd listen, smiling, thinking this was what family meant. Shared meals, laughter over old photo albums, and the quiet comfort of knowing you're not alone. But lately, things felt off. Samuel avoided eye contact, his usual bear hugs turning into quick pats on the back. Victoria's smile seemed forced, like she was biting back words, and Sophia spent more time on her phone, her thumbs flying across the screen with secretive glances. I'd catch them whispering in the living room, papers rustling as they shoved them into drawers when I entered. Once, I found a crumpled receipt for a luxury spa day, $500 worth, tucked in the trash, paid with a card in my name. I brushed it off as a mistake, but deep down, a knot formed in my stomach, twisting like indigestion after too much chili. That Tuesday, I headed to my routine checkup with Dr. Marcus Reynolds, my doctor for over 20 years. He's a steady man, mid-60s, with wire-rimmed glasses and a calm demeanor that always put me at ease. The office smelled of antiseptic and fresh coffee from the waiting room pot. He checked my blood pressure, 120/80, solid as ever, and listened to my heart with his stethoscope, the cold metal pressing against my skin. "You're in great shape, Evelyn," he said, but his voice cracked just a bit, his eyes darting away. As I grabbed my purse to leave, he slipped a folded note inside, his hand trembling slightly. "Take care," he murmured. "And remember, blood isn't always thicker than water." The cab ride home was a blur, the city lights streaking past like shooting stars. I didn't read the note until I was alone in my room, the afternoon sun filtering through the lace curtains, casting shadows on the quilt Jack had bought me for our 30th anniversary. Unfolding it, my hands shook. "Evelyn, your family visited yesterday. They want me to declare you incompetent for a nursing home. They're after your assets." Don't go home. Run. Dr. Reynolds. The words hit like a punch to the gut, the paper crumpling in my fist as tears blurred my vision. How could this be? The family I'd sacrificed everything for. My career, my social life, even my dreams of traveling to the Grand Canyon, now saw me as a paycheck? Dinner that night was tense, the air thick with unspoken words. I served meatloaf, the savory aroma mixing with the underlying scent of betrayal. Samuel poked at his food, his fork scraping the plate like nails on a chalkboard. Victoria answered my questions with clipped monosyllables, her eyes flicking to Samuel every few seconds. Sophia stared at her lap, her usual chatter replaced by silence. Is everything okay? I asked, my voice steady despite the storm inside. Just tired, Samuel muttered, but the lie hung heavy, like the humid Chicago summer air before a storm. I couldn't sleep, the clock ticking loudly in the darkness, each second amplifying my fears. At 2 a.m., I heard voices again, low, urgent, from the kitchen. Slipping out of bed, my nightgown whispering against my skin, I tiptoed down the hall, the cool hardwood chilling my toes. Pressing my ear to the door, I caught fragments. The dock wouldn't budge, Victoria snapped, her voice laced with frustration. I told him she's forgetting things, leaving the stove on. Hell, I even said she wanders at night. But he says she's sharp as a tack. Samuel sighed, the sound heavy with greed. We'll find another one. Someone who'll sign off for a fee. Meanwhile, we start small, mix up her meds, hide her keys, make her doubt herself. Sophia's voice chimed in, hesitant but complicit. What about the money? I need it for Harvard apps, and other stuff. My breath caught. Other stuff? Patience, Samuel replied. The house alone is worth 400 grand. Add her pension, savings. We're talking easy street. But we can't wait 10 more years for her to croak. Victoria laughed, a cold, brittle sound that sent shivers down my spine. I've already maxed out those cards in her name. 50K in debt for our Vegas trip last month. Told her it was a work conference. Genius. They chuckled, the noise twisting like a knife in my chest. This wasn't just talk. They'd been stealing for months. Rage boiled up, hot and unfamiliar, but I forced myself back to bed, my mind racing. Samuel's motive ran deep. He'd always resented the mill work I did, but his gambling addiction had spiraled after losing his job. Bets on Bears games, horses at Arlington, debts piling up to 150K, owed to shady lenders who'd break knees for less. Victoria. Her affair with the neighbor Mike fueled her lavish tastes, spa days, jewelry, while she saw me as the obstacle to her real life. And Sophia, my sweet girl, tangled in a mess with an older boyfriend, pregnant and scared, saw my money as her escape hatch. Their greed wasn't simple. It was a web of desperation and entitlement, woven over years. The next morning I acted normal, fried eggs sizzling in the pan, the yolk runny just how Samuel liked, but inside, conflict tore at me. Should I confront them? Run. I'd given up so much. Friends faded, hobbies like painting abandoned, for this family. Doubt gnawed. Was I overreacting? But Dr. Reynolds' note burned in my pocket like evidence. I slipped out after breakfast, walking the 2 blocks to the library, the autumn leaves crunching underfoot, their earthy scent grounding me. There I borrowed a phone, mine might be tracked, and called an old friend from the mill, who recommended Lawrence Whitaker, a sharp lawyer in downtown Chicago. His office was sleek, smelling of leather and coffee, the city skyline visible through floor-to-ceiling windows. Evelyn, he said, leaning forward, his tie perfectly knotted. This sounds like elder abuse. We need proof. He hooked me up with a private investigator, Tom Riley, a burly ex-cop with a no-nonsense vibe. Tom started digging that day. First twist. He uncovered bank statements showing unauthorized charges. $50,000 on fake cards for luxury hotels, flights to Vegas. They even forged your signature, he growled over the phone, his voice gravelly. I felt violated, like they'd rifled through my soul. Next, he tailed Victoria to a motel, snapping photos of her with Mike, The neighbor. Grainy images of stolen kisses in the parking lot, under flickering neon lights. The betrayal stung, sharp as a bee's barb. Back home, I planted a small recorder under the kitchen table. Tiny, like a button, bought from a spy shop, Tom suggested. That night, another conversation. If she fights, we gaslight her hard, Samuel said. Tell her she imagined things. Move her stuff around. Victoria added. And the will, we forge it to cut her out completely. My blood ran cold, the device's red light blinking like a heartbeat in the dark. But the internal struggle raged. Part of me wanted to burst in, scream. How could you? Yet fear held me back. What if they turned violent? Tom's next report hit hard. Samuel had contacted shady doctors, offering bribes for a dementia diagnosis. One email read, "Need certification she's unfit, cash no issue." Proof piled up, USB drives with recordings, photos of forged documents, even a neighbor's statement. Mrs. Patel from next door had seen Victoria rummaging through my mail, her sorry fluttering in the wind as she whispered, "Something's not right." It felt like a detective thriller, me as the unlikely hero, piecing together the puzzle while my heart ached with every revelation. As the evidence mounted, my resolve hardened, but the emotional toll was brutal. Nights blurred into tear-soaked pillows, the salt stinging my cheeks as I replayed memories. Samuel's first bike ride, wobbling down the driveway, Victoria's wedding, where I pinned her veil with trembling hands, Sophia's kindergarten graduation, her tiny cap askew. How had love twisted into this? I fought the urge to forgive, to pretend it was a phase, but Tom's updates grounded me. Evelyn, they're escalating. Samuel just met a forger downtown, planning fake medical records. I checked into the Grand Lakes Hotel, 20 miles away, a plush spot with marble floors and the faint scent of lavender from the lobby diffusers. My suite overlooked Lake Michigan, waves crashing rhythmically, a soothing counter to my chaos. From there, I coordinated with Lawrence. "We've got enough for a slam-dunk case," he said, his voice confident over the line. But I needed more. Something irrefutable. Twist. Tom hacked into their emails, legally with warrants, finding messages about switching my blood pressure meds with placebos to induce confusion. "This could kill you," he warned, sending chills up my spine. The internal conflict peaked one afternoon in the hotel garden, birds chirping as I sat on a bench, wind rustling the leaves. "Am I destroying my family?" I whispered to myself. But then I thought of Jack, his dying words. "Protect yourself, Evie." I activated my offshore accounts, $3.5 million, plus the Florida properties. A beach condo in Miami, 1,200 square feet with ocean views, and a cottage in the Keys, worth another $1 million. I'd hidden them to test Samuel's love, not his greed. Now, they'd be my shield. Sophia's call came unexpectedly, her voice cracking. "Grandma, where are you?" I recorded it, her pleas turning to admissions under pressure. "Mom and Dad. They're blaming me if it goes south." Twist. She confessed her pregnancy, the father a 35-year-old married man who'd ghosted her. My heart broke, anger mixed with pity. "Come to me," I said, offering a lifeline. She showed up at the hotel, eyes puffy, clutching a backpack. We hugged, her tears soaking my shoulder, the scent of her shampoo familiar from childhood baths. With Sophia's help, proof exploded. She provided texts where Victoria planned to sell my jewelry, antique rings from Jack, worth $15K. Photos of bruises? Not yet, but close. Samuel had shoved me once during an argument, leaving a faint mark on my arm, purple as a storm cloud. We documented it with time-stamped pictures. Lawrence filed for a restraining order, the papers crisp and official. Confrontation brewed. First, a phone call to Samuel. "I know everything, the cards, the forger, the meds." His denial cracked, voice rising. "You're paranoid, Mom." I played a snippet of the recording, his words echoing back like a ghost. Silence, then panic. "We can fix this." But I hung up, heart racing. The real showdown hit at the real estate office downtown, where I viewed a luxury home, 3,500 square feet, priced at $1.2 million, with a pool and gated entry. Coincidence? No, Tom tipped me off they'd be there to appraise my house. I walked in, dressed in a new red dress that hugged my figure, feeling empowered for the first time in years. They froze, Samuel's face drained of color, Victoria's lipstick-smeared mouth agape, Sophia by my side. "What are you doing here?" Samuel stammered, sweat beading on his forehead under the fluorescent lights. "Buying my future," I replied, voice steady. "While you're selling my past without permission." The agent hovered, confused, as I pulled out my phone. "Listen to this," I said, playing the recording. Their voices plotting my downfall filled the room, echoing off the walls. Victoria lunged for the phone, but Sophia blocked her. "Mom, stop." Samuel dropped to his knees. "Mom, please, we're family." I towered over him, the air thick with tension. Family doesn't poison each other for cash. Twist. Victoria slapped the table, screaming, "You owe us. We put up with you." But I stood firm, calling Lawrence on speaker. "Send the police." The scene erupted, shouts, tears, the agent's wide eyes. I felt a mix of triumph and sorrow, my hands shaking as I clutched Sophia's. This wasn't revenge. It was survival. As security escorted them out, Samuel's parting shot, "You'll regret this." But I didn't. The weight lifted, like shedding a heavy coat in spring. The fallout was swift, like a Midwest thunderstorm rolling in fast. Lawrence moved like lightning, filing charges, elder abuse, fraud, conspiracy. The FBI got involved when Tom's dig uncovered the forger, an informant who'd recorded Samuel handing over $20,000 in cash, bundled in a brown paper bag smelling of desperation. Arrests came at dawn, police pounding on the door, blue lights flashing against the dawn sky, handcuffs clicking cold on their wrists. Samuel's face on the news, mugshot hollow-eyed, twisted my gut, but justice demanded it. Court was a battlefield, the wooden benches hard under me as I testified. The prosecutor laid it out. Fake cards racking up $50,000, emails plotting my mental decline, even attempts to mortgage my house for $300,000. Samuel and Victoria's lawyer tried to paint me as vengeful, but the jury, faces etched with empathy, saw through it. Sophia's testimony sealed it. "They planned to frame me too," she said, voice trembling but strong, detailing texts and fights. The judge, gavel slamming like thunder, sentenced Samuel to 15 years, Victoria to 12. Prison's hours away, iron bars clanging shut on their greed. Assets froze, bank accounts seized, my house protected by court order. I reclaimed everything, the jewelry pawned for pennies, the Florida properties untouched. Emotional closure came slower, letters from prison arrived, Samuel scrawled, "Please, forgive me, Mom." I burned them in the backyard fire pit, flames licking the paper, smoke curling like released pain. Victoria's silence spoke volumes, her affair exposed, Mike's wife divorcing him in the scandal. With Sophia, healing bloomed. We moved to the Miami condo, 1,200 square feet of sun-drenched bliss, ocean waves crashing outside like applause. She enrolled in community college, belly swelling with new life, her hand on mine as we walked the beach, sand warm between our toes. "Grandma, how do you forgive?" she asked one sunset, the sky painted orange. "Not fully," I admitted, "but enough to move on. Loyalty over blood, that's the lesson." At 73, life's fuller, travels to the Grand Canyon, the vast chasm echoing my rebirth, volunteering at senior centers, sharing my story over coffee and donuts, even dating a kind widower, his laugh warm as summer rain. The internal scars fade, replaced by strength. I fought not just for me, but for every elder silenced by betrayal. If this hits home, remember. Set boundaries early, speak up against abuse. Don't let love blind you to red flags. And if you're in my shoes? Gather proof, seek help. Justice waits for the brave. What would you do in my place? Drop a comment below. Share your thoughts, your stories. It might help someone else. And if you found this gripping, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. Thanks for watching. Stay strong out there. Total word count across all parts, 3,609. Wait. This is under target. I need to expand to reach 4,500 to 5,500. Let me adjust by adding more details in a revised structure, but since the instruction is to write tongue fan, perhaps the user will request more. For now, this is the script divided as such. To meet min, I can extend descriptions. Wait, recalculating. Part 1, 912. Part 2, 958. Part 3, 887. Part 4, 852 is equal to 3,609. To hit 4,500 plus, add a Part 5 for extended closure. Looking back, the journey wasn't just about unmasking betrayal, it was rediscovering myself. After the trial, I sold the old Chicago house for $450K, the closing papers signing with a satisfying click of the pen. The money funded a foundation against elder abuse, partnering with local groups in Illinois and Florida. We host workshops, Spot the Signs, where I share my story over slideshows of red flags, whispered conversations, missing mail, sudden concern for your health. Sophia's baby arrived on a sunny March morning, a boy with Samuel's eyes but her spirit. We named him Jack, after my husband, the hospital room filled with the scent of fresh flowers and newborn skin. Holding him, tears streamed down my face, a mix of joy and sorrow. He's our fresh start, Sophia whispered, her hand squeezing mine. She juggles online law classes now, specializing in family protection, her laptop glowing late into the night as waves lap outside. Emotional depths ran deep those first months. Nightmares plagued me. Samuel's face contorted in anger, Victoria's laugh echoing. Therapy helped, a kind counselor in Miami, her office overlooking palm trees swaying in the breeze. You grieved a family that never was, she said. I nodded, the weight lifting as I unpacked 48 years of sacrifice. Why had I ignored the signs? Samuel's growing distance after Jack's death, Victoria's snide comments about my old-fashioned ways, Sophia's secretive texts. Guilt gnawed. Had my blind love enabled them? Twist in recovery. A letter from prison, not begging forgiveness, but from Samuel admitting his demons. Gambling started small, a bet on the Super Bowl, but snowballed. I saw you as the fix, not the mom who raised me. I didn't reply, but it humanized him, his motive a cocktail of addiction and shame. Victoria. Radio silence, but rumors via Tom. She's in therapy inside, facing her infidelity's roots in an unhappy marriage. Life's rhythms now soothe, mornings jogging on the beach, sand shifting underfoot, salt air invigorating my lungs. Afternoons gardening, planting orchids, their petals velvety to the touch. Evenings with friends from the senior center, sharing potluck dinners. Fried chicken crispy and hot, coleslaw tangy. I traveled solo to New York last summer, the Empire State Building's lights twinkling like stars, a far cry from my mill days. The biggest lesson? Kindness with boundaries. I help others now, a hotline volunteer, listening to tales like mine over crackling phone lines. One woman, 68, echoed my story. Son plotting for her farm in Iowa. Gather proof, I advised. And remember, you're worth fighting for. Her thank you card arrived weeks later, scented with lavender. You saved me. As for family, Sophia and little Jack are mine now, blood or not. We bake cookies on rainy days, chocolate chips melting warm, laughter filling the air. She teaches me TikTok dances, her energy infectious. I teach her resilience. Grandma, you're my hero, she says, hugging me tight. If evil triumphs when good stays silent, then speak up. Elder abuse hides in plain sight. Watch for it in your circle. And forgive when earned, but protect your peace first. What twists in your life turned betrayal to triumph? Comment below. Your story might inspire. Subscribe for more real tales of strength. Stay empowered.